So, hello friends, good morning. And from the corner of Department of English, again I welcome you all in this class of video lecture. And friends, this is BA Part 3rd English Literature, and we have been doing for last couple of days paper 1. And in paper 1 we are supposed to take poems written by Tennyson, Browning, Yeats, Robert Frost, Dylan Thomas, etc. But before that, we urgently need an overview, a sort of glimpse, an outline, or a sort of introductory approach to 20th century literature, because this is called Victorianism, and this is also known as the age of interrogation by the very word we understand: to question, to interrogate, to doubt, and not to keep on following the existing faith, the existing belief. So the one and the most important key feature of this age of interrogation, which has been the main idea of 20th century literature, which we start from 1837 to 1901, known as the reign of Queen Victoria. So here the main thought is to question. The entire literature which has been composed during this era questions the things which are existing. And friends, if we really want to understand the questioning, the interrogating spirit of this era, then I put before you some of the oft-quoted quotations which are able to give you an idea of the spirit of interrogation. I give you these 4 quotations which you should write in your notebook. The first one is written by Rose Macaulay. I quote, "Across all futures is hung a curtain of mist, on which is scrawled a question mark." I unquote. So again I repeat the quotation. I quote Rose Macaulay, "Across all futures is hung a curtain of mist, on which is scrawled a question mark. The entire things revolved around question mark." The second quotation, which is very famous and which consists only 3 words, written by E.M. Forster, I quote, "The everlasting why." With this phrase, we can understand the interrogating spirit of the 20th century literature, that everyone asks why. Everyone wants to know in the light of truth, in the light of knowledge, why is this, right? And the third very important quotation which we can keep in our mind, written by John Galsworthy, I quote, "The thirst to know why this was and that was not." Only with the phrases, with the words, you can understand the real nature of this age. The thirst to know why this was and that was not. Why people had to suffer. Why 1,000 things. I unquote. This is a very famous quotation which has come on behalf of John Galsworthy. And the last but not the least, this is J.E. Fleckner, very famous thinker. He writes, I quote, though a great God slay me with fire. Again I repeat, you can also write, though a great God slay me with fire, I will shout till he answer me, why? I unquote. So friends, this is a literature of why. This is a literature of questioning. This is a literature of shaking the faith in age-long customs and traditions. This is a literature which clearly rejects all the biblical versions, all the biblical interpretations of this creation of the universe. Because suddenly a scientist, a theorist, a thinker like Darwin came with his famous thesis, The Origin of the Species. So friends, with these four quotations, I think we are able to understand the outline of this 20th century literature. And before we come to Tennyson, before we come to Ulysses, before we come to Robert Frost's poems, very famous writer Robert Frost, Dylan Thomas, G.M. Hopkins, we are supposed to have an outline of this era which has been very much disturbing. It was the age of industrialization, it was the age of technological advancement, it was the age of huge production on behalf of man and machines, it was the era of scientific navigation and transportation, right? And politically it was a turbulent one, since with this era the world witnessed the rule of colonial regime across the world under the leadership of United Kingdom, Britain, with his alliances. So friends, what you see in the study of literature, few things are more interesting than to consider the periodical changes of outlook which sway the human mind and spirit. To observe those recurrent fluctuations of values which cause the truths and certainties of one generation to appear as superstitions and empty conventions in the eyes of generations following. This is very important. The values system, the structures which existed over a long period, now they started appearing as odd and unconventional. In this way, there had been a change in outlook which could sway the human mind and spirit. Friends, human mind and spirit keep on changing the things. At one point of time, they consider one particular faith to be eternal, to be universal. But looking to changes taken place in science and history, in culture and civilization, all such convictions are swayed, and the way in which they are swayed, it appears that whatever was existing was quite unnatural, was quite unconventional, and was quite, faithless. So, which causes the truths and certainties of one generation to appear as superstitions and empty conventions. Yes, the coming generations consider them merely as superstitions and empty conventions in the eyes of generations following. Young men and young women during the first quarter of the 20th century looked back upon the Victorian age with a skeptical lifting of the eyebrows and an ironical grin. Yes, skepticism. Skepticism has been one of the core idea of this era. whatever is existing, whatever is pertaining, whatever is running, is it right or wrong? Is it justified or unjustified? And this justification should be viewed from the prism of science. So, skeptical lifting of the eyebrows and an ironical grin were the main ideas. They regarded that as dully hypocritical and stuffy. They said that Victorian ideas were mean and superficial and stupid. They mocked at Tennyson, yawned over George Eliot, swept through Dickens by leaps of 100 pages long. This insurgent mood was partly cause and partly the consequence of changes effected on impending in literature of the first quarter of the 20th century. Right? Many times, such great poets, even like Tennyson, George Eliot, and Dickens, are not welcomed. From 1901 to 1925, English literature was directed by mental attitudes, moral ideas, and spiritual values at almost the opposite extreme from the attitudes, ideas, and values governing Victorian literature. The old certainties were certainties no longer. Everything was held to be open to question, everything from the nature of the deity to the construction of verse forms. Everything came under the domain of questioning. Right? The church came under the domain of questioning. The religion came under the domain of questioning. The system of polity, the system of culture, the institution of marriage, the civilizational trends, and even the polity. Right? While H.G. Wells was revising God, Rupert Brooke was inverting the sonnet and representing Helen of Troy as a withered crown. Standards of artistic craftsmanship and of aesthetic appreciation also changed fundamentally. Right, friends? So, in the Victorian age, there was a widespread disposition towards unquestioning submission to the reign of the expert. The voice of authority was accepted in religion, in politics, in literature, in family life. Man and woman did unfeignedly desire to accept the pronouncements of the voice of authority. Right? So, this is a sort of a brief introduction of this age, with which I think you shall be able to understand the literature. And friend, a further feature of Victorianism was its impatient belief in the permanence of 19th century institutions, both temporal and spiritual. This is again one idea. The permanence of institutions has been displaced by the sense of a universal lack of fixity. Right? So this is again a new perspective, and we are talking of the changes. So one important voice is of Bernard Shaw. The change of outlook brought about in the 20th century was due to the growth of a restless desire to probe and to question. Bernard Shaw, foremost among the heralds of change, attacked with vigor the old superstition of religion and the new superstition of science. Right? So we are supposed to go through some of the works of Bernard Shaw also. So I think this is complete today. Thank you, friends.